normal people, nice guys, anxious, nervous, incompetent cowards like Bear. But then it turns out that they're simply a wolf in sheep's clothing. And the whole thing is truly horrendous, especially with the events that take place in the movie, and the allegory that is very abundantly clear. So when somebody misses the mark so heavily and then they want to fight and die on this hill to essentially defend the terrible actions committed by this character, which again is a reflection on the real world, it's deeply concerning. And I feel like it's important to talk about. So let's do exactly that.
It's easy to start selling on Depop. Just snap a few photos and we'll take care of the rest. And with no selling fee.
Let's do exactly that.
The most interesting thing about Obsession to me is how it has become a flashpoint for illustrating a certain moment of cultural insanity. There is so much that is interesting about this movie, but it seems like the majority of the discourse around the film can only focus on one extremely deficient interpretation. Bear is an incel, and the movie is about how nice guys TM are actually the worst. All interesting discussion has been curtailed in favor of using the film as a sounding board to demonstrate one's adherence to a cult of sexual paranoia by hand-wringing about what a villain Bear is. I got a small taste of just how polluted this discourse has become last month when I responded to a tweet calling for unpopular opinions on the film. Let's just say it did unusually well, and I'm not even on a monetized account. Anyway, please don't follow me on Twitter. I am not a dignified person there. This is all ridiculous, and it's time for me to heal the world by giving a better take. So let's do that.
Spoiler warning, he does not give a better take, but I do want to take a moment to stop here and talk about something that he said, that he wants to address some deficient argument or statement or something like that, some sexual paranoia or something like that is what he wants to address. He wants to, set the record straight about that. Now, I have no idea what it's like to be a woman that becomes a victim of a nice guy, but I've heard many stories from people in my comments. Thank you guys for sharing them. I'm talking about on my main channel mostly, but stories from TikTok, Reddit, etc., of women who have experienced this and the horrors that come from it. And the case of Obsession it's a movie that materializes that fear, that anxiety, that pain that is inflicted by people like Bear, and it does it in a very terrifying but also fairly realistic way, if you obviously ignore the magic involved. But you don't need magic for a nice guy to turn your life upside down, or to ruin your life, or to end your life even. Those things happen all the time, and they don't get talked about enough. So that's why I think, again, Obsession is such a good film for not just being a good movie in and of itself and a good horror movie, but to actually bring some of these serious issues to life in a way that we don't see done nearly enough. And he is saying here, just right off rip, that it's a bunch of nonsense, that it's paranoia, that it's essentially not real, that Bear here isn't some horrifying incel evil super demon, right? And he's not a super demon, he is a man. He is a normal person who is capable of being a villain and doing some seriously evil and heinous shit. Let's see the barking years better take that he has promised us.
If a person were to try to guess the plot of the film based only on the way it has been described on social media, they would conclude that Bear, with full knowledge of what he was doing, made a wish that intentionally replaced Nikki's consciousness with a customized sex bot, and then spent the remainder of the movie happily humping away while cackling gleefully at the thought of the real Nikki locked away in some hell dimension. I guess this is supposed to be the phase of a guy having a great time. In reality, he spends most of the film not understanding what has happened, being skeptical of Nikki's apparent love for him, and in general, not really knowing the identity of the woman he is with, and trying to figure out how to fix the situation. Which maybe some people can't tell the difference between those two scenarios, but I can. So let's talk about the wish. They're basically two ontologically, I'm sorry that I'm using this word, distinct possibilities about what the wish has done. The first possibility is that it has simply made an alteration to Nikki's personality in kind of the same way that drinking or taking pharmaceuticals can do that. But we don't normally consider that fundamentally altering a person's identity. The other possibility is that Nikki's identity has been replaced by, again I'm sorry, an ontologically distinct being that is sharing her body. We, the audience, are able to understand pretty quickly that it's option B, but Bear spends almost the entire movie not knowing this and seeming to think that it's option A. He also has to grapple with...
I mean, I normally like to let people finish their thoughts, but I gotta chime in here because things have already gotten way out of hand and very ridiculous, and I've got to make the corrections, the necessary corrections here. First and foremost, even if he thinks it's option A or whatever, that doesn't make anything that he's done any better. To understand that this wish that he's made has altered this person in a way that it's similar to them being on drugs or drunk, which is what Bear thinks, that she's just kind of on drugs or drunk or, you know, something like that, and then proceeds to take advantage of her. That doesn't excuse him of the things that he did to her. But this guy, this nice guy douchebag, thinks that it does. He thinks because that Bear believes that she's just, like intoxicated or, you know, high as fuck or whatever, that what he does to her is okay. That couldn't be further from the truth. That's just as horrible. And then obviously when he does eventually realize that it's option B, as this person is listed, he doesn't try to fix that in the slightest. He tries to keep option B, but make it a little bit better for him, a little bit more convenient, a little less painful for him, because at the end of the day, he only cares about himself. He doesn't care about Nikki's suffering. Now, there's this bit early in that little segment where he's talking about how people would summarize the movie as Bear's this guy who is just having this maniacal laughter about how he's assaulting this woman over and over again. He's replaced her with some like non-autonomous sex bot or whatever, and he's just having the time of his life. First off, not a single rational, intelligent